The crate beneath the sand desert was quiet. Just the sound of wind moving over endless dunes. Jace walked slowly, each step sinking a little into the hot, orange sand. He wore a dust-covered explorer suit, and his helmet filtered the dry air. He had been searching this alien planet for hours, hoping to find something valuable: gold, tech, ancient metal, maybe even lost cargo. His metal scanner suddenly beeped. He stopped. He looked down at the device in his hand. It was flashing red, showing something big under the surface. Finally, he whispered to himself. Jace dropped to his knees and started digging. Sand flew around him as he used his gloved hands and a small shovel. After a few minutes, his hand hit something solid, cold, hard metal. He brushed more sand away. A large corner of a crate appeared. It looked old, very old. The surface was scratched and worn, but he could still see strange markings on its symbols he didn't recognize. Some looked like claws, others like eyes. He cleared more sand. It was a massive crate, almost as big as a small car. Then, something strange happened. A soft voice came from inside the crate. "Please, don't open." Jace jumped back, heart racing. His hand went straight to his sidearm. He stared at the crate. No movement, no sound. Was it the wind? He stepped closer again. The whisper, "Please, don't open." This time he was sure. It wasn't the wind. It was real. He stepped back, nervous. What the hell? He activated his comlink. "Nova, are you hearing this?" he asked his ship's onboard AI. "Negative," Nova replied calmly. "I detect no transmissions. I swear something just talked to me." From inside this crate, Nova paused. Recommendation: do not interact. Unknown structure. Unknown. Voice. Possible threat? Jace looked at the crate again. The markings now seemed to glow faintly, as if reacting to his presence. His curiosity was stronger than his fear. He pulled out a scanner and pointed it at the crate. The readings made no sense, no life signs, no known material. And yet it was sealed perfectly, untouched by time. JACE circled around it. The crate had no obvious door or control panel, just smooth metal and strange symbols. On one side, he saw a faded image. It looked like a figure trapped inside, reaching out. A warning, or a message. The desert wind picked up, blowing sand into his face. He pulled up his hood. He decided to set up camp for the night. He couldn't leave, not now, not after finding something like this. As he worked, the whisper came again, softer this time. "Don't let them find me." The voice sounded female. Afraid. Jace stared at the crate, confused. Who was inside? Why was she asking for help? And who was them? He had more questions than answers. He sat near the crate, staring at it as the twin suns of the planet began to set. The sky turned deep orange, casting long shadows across the sand. "Nova," he said, "keep the sensors up. Something about this doesn't feel right." "Acknowledged," the AI replied. As darkness fell, Jace lay down next to the crate rifle beside him. He didn't sleep much. The whisper stayed in his mind. "Please, don't open." But deep down, he knew he couldn't leave it buried. The whisper that shouldn't exist night was colder than Jace expected. He sat close to a small heat, wrapped in his cloak, watching the crate through tired eyes. His thoughts were loud, louder than the wind outside his tent. Was he really hearing a voice? Or had the desert heat made him imagine it? But then, the whisper came again. "They'll come if you open it. They'll smell me." This time, it wasn't just words. There was emotion in the voice: fear, pain, and a strange kind of sadness. It wasn't human, but it sounded close. Too close. Jace stood slowly. The sand crunched beneath his boots. He moved back toward the crate with careful steps, eyes scanning the horizon. Nothing, only the wind and the stars above. He reached out and placed his hand gently on the crate's surface. It was cold, too cold for something buried in hot sand all day. The markings glowed again, pale blue lines moving under his fingers like they were alive. "Who are you?" he whispered. No answer. "Are you alive in there?" Still silence. "Do you need help?" Then faintly, "I was meant to sleep forever, but now you're here." His fingers curled. "What are you?" he asked again. No reply. Nova spoke in his ear suddenly. "Jace, your heartbeat is rising. Do you wish to return to the ship?" He shook his head. "No, not yet. I think this crate is more than a box. Something is in there, scared, maybe even trapped. It may be a trap itself," Nova warned. "Scanners still detect no life signs, only energy. Very old, very unstable." Jace nodded slowly. "Yeah, I figured." He turned on a small drone and let it hover above the crate. It scanned quietly, while he looked for more symbols. On the bottom edge, he saw something he hadn't noticed before carved deep into the metal. A circle with jagged points and what looked like a pair of closed eyes. Jace pulled out his universal translator and scanned it. The result flashed on his screen. "Danger sleeps here. Break the seal, and the sky will burn." He blinked. "Sky will burn," he whispered. Then the drone beeped. Something shifted, not outside, not around him, inside. The crate pulsed once. A low hum filled the air, so low, it made his teeth hurt. Sand around the base of the crate began to rise, floating for a few seconds before falling again like dust. "Nova, did you see that?" "Confirmed. Anti-gravity field detected. Internal activity has increased by 6%. Energy source is waking." "It's waking," Jace said under his breath. "But what is it?" Before he could step back, he heard the whisper again, clearer, and now, directly in his mind. "They buried me alive, human. I screamed for centuries. Please, if you open me, don't run." Jace stumbled back, his heart racing. "You're in my head." No answer. He paced, trying to calm down. He looked back at the crate. "Okay," he said aloud. "If you want help, you have to tell me who buried you, and why." This time, there was a pause, then the voice answered. "They feared me, because I was made to end wars, but I chose peace. They didn't understand. They locked me away." Jace froze. He stared at the crate as another cold wind rolled over the dunes. "They called me a weapon, but I only ever wanted to save lives." For a moment, Jace forgot to breathe. A weapon that didn't want war. Was this some kind of ancient prisoner, or a key to something far worse? He sat down in the sand, staring up at the stars. The planet was quiet, but the story unfolding in front of him was not. He had found something new, someone that had been forgotten by time, hidden because of what she could do. "Nova," he said, finally breaking the silence, "run a deep search on any known alien weapons sealed in containers." "Processing," Nova replied. After a moment, match found. Ancient myth, Class 6 restricted files. Name, the Silent One. Origin, unknown. Last mention over 10,000 cycles ago. Believed to be a living weapon. Lost to time. Jace's breath caught. He looked at the crate again, the Silent One. And now she wasn't silent anymore. Clues in the sandstorm. Morning sun rose slowly over the desert, casting long golden rays across the dunes. Jace hadn't slept. He sat beside the crate, staring at it like it might vanish if he blinked. He had found something ancient, something alive, and maybe something dangerous. The voice inside still hadn't spoken again since last night, but its words echoed in his mind. "They feared me, because I was made to end wars." Jace's hands shook slightly as he sipped water. His thoughts spun like a storm. If this crate really held the Silent One, then what kind of power did she have, and who buried her so deep? His comlink crackled. Nova's voice was sharp this time. Jay's atmospheric disturbance detected. Sandstorm, incoming, ETA, 15 minutes. Category 4. Jace looked up. On the far horizon, the sky was dark. Clouds of sand were rising fast. It was like a wall of dust stretching across the land. Can the ship reach me in time? Jace asked. Negative visibility will be 0. Recommend immediate shelter. Jace ran to his tent, reinforcing it quickly. But he paused, looking back at the crate. Should he cover it? Bury it again? Then, something caught his eye. Half buried, beneath the crate. The sand had shifted during the night. He moved closer and knelt down. There on the edge of a hidden platform was a new set of carvings, not like the glowing symbols. These were older, rough, desperate. He brushed away the sand, revealing ancient drawings etched by hand. They told a story, a planet burning in the sky, ships fleeing, a figure standing alone before armies. Her hands raised not in attack, but in peace. The next part showed that same figure, locked in a crate, surrounded by others pointing weapons at her, then carved deep in larger lines, 4 alien words. JACE ran a scan. The translation came slowly. Savior, mistaken for destroyer. His throat tightened. She had tried to stop the war, but they feared her so much, they locked her away, alone, for centuries. Suddenly, the crate pulsed again, a gentle hum. The voice returned, weaker this time. They were going to kill me, but locking me away was their mercy. Jace touched the metal. You tried to help, didn't you? I broke the code of my makers. I refused to destroy. They turned on me, called me broken. The storm winds howled in the distance. It was getting closer. Jace knew he didn't have much time. Nova, log everything. This history can't be lost again. Confirmed, Nova replied. The wind hit hard. Sand slammed against the tent. JACE rushed inside and sealed it, but he kept his eyes on the crate. Through a small screen, dust filled the air. Visibility dropped. The whole camp rattled. Then something strange happened. The crate glowed. Not just the symbols, the entire surface lit up like a living heartbeat. Soft pulses, timed with the storm. Nova, are you seeing this? He asked. Yes. Energy output rising. The storm is not natural. It's reacting to her. Jace frowned. What? The voice returned. Calm. This time, they built storms to hide me. They still watch. They fear I will awaken. His blood ran cold. This storm wasn't weather. It was a warning, or worse, a trap. You're telling me someone is still out there, watching you? They never stopped. A loud crack hit the sky. A flash of white light burst through the storm. JACE looked at his screen. In the distance through the swirling dust, something moved. Not the wind, not a creature, a structure, no a machine. Rising from the sand, his heart pounded. Double quotes, Nova, what is that unidentified object? Approximately 80 meters away, now active. It was buried beneath the surface. Was correct. It is no longer buried. The storm wasn't trying to bury the crate. It was trying to uncover something else then. Jace saw it clearly. A giant black tower, smooth and curved like a blade, now rising from the desert floor. Red lights blinked across its surface. It didn't look old. It looked alive, and it was facing the crate. Nova, I think the ones who locked her up just woke up too. The lock begins to open. Storm had passed, but the desert didn't. Feel calm. JACE stood outside his battered tent, staring at the strange black tower, now standing just meters away. It hadn't been there before. It had grown risen from the ground during the storm, like something had called it, or warned it. He turned to look at the crate. The glow on its surface was brighter now, steady, like a heartbeat that had found its rhythm again. Energy shimmered across the ancient metal like soft waves of light. Nova, he said, what's happening? The crate's energy signal has increased by 42%. Internal systems are waking. I detect a pulse, slow, rhythmic, similar to a life form but not biological. Jace took a slow breath. Inside the crate, she was stirring, and something else had been alerted. He walked toward the crate, each step sinking into the sand. His boots felt heavier now, not from weight but from the feeling that something bigger was watching him. Something he couldn't see as he reached the crate. His palm hovered over the surface, then dash, click, dot, a sharp mechanical sound echoed from within. A thin line of light formed across one side. The crate's surface split slightly, just enough to show a seam. The lock had begun to open. "Nova," Jace whispered. "The seal is breaking. Unlocking sequence detected. It was not triggered by you. Then who triggered it?" A pause. Unknown. Before he could react, the black tower nearby let out a loud tone, like a horn made of metal and fire. A deep sound that shook the ground beneath his feet. Jace turned toward it. A hatch on the side of the tower hissed open, and something stepped out. A tall figure. Not human, not machine, something in between. Its body was made of black armor, fused with muscle and bone, its eyes glowing red behind a mask that looked carved from stone. It walked slowly, one heavy step at a time, toward the crate. "Nova, what is that?" Jace asked, backing away. Scanning. Result. Classified. No match in known records. But there are legends, watchers, guardians of forbidden things. So it's here to stop me. "No," Nova said quietly. "It's here to stop her." The figure raised one hand, palm glowing with blue energy. The crate answered with a hum that shook the air. Light danced across its surface, resisting the outside force. The crate didn't want to be shut again. Jack stepped in front of it, instinct pulling him into danger. "Don't," he shouted at the figure. The guardian paused, head tilting slightly. For a moment, there was silence. Then it spoke not with a mouth, but directly into Jace's mind. "You are human. This is not your fight. Step away." Jace's eyes narrowed. "She's alive. She asked for help. I won't let you lock her back in." The voice grew louder, colder. "She is not what you think. She was made to protect, but her power was never controlled. She burned cities. She broke minds. They sealed her for a reason." Jace shook his head. "She said she refused to destroy. She chose peace. And for that, she became unstable, unpredictable. Her pain became chaos." The crate pulsed again. A voice inside, shaky and weak, echoed out. "Don't listen. They only know fear. I never wanted war. I only wanted to feel the sun again." Jace's heart cracked. That voice wasn't evil. It was lonely. He looked back at the figure. "Then maybe it's time someone trusted her," Jace said. He reached toward the glowing seam of the crate. The figure reacted instantly, charging forward, arm raised to strike. Before it could reach him, the crate exploded with light. A massive shockwave blasted out in all directions, knocking Jace backward and throwing the guardian into the sand like a broken doll. The air went still. The crate was now wide open. A slow mist rolled out from the inside, glowing with soft blue light, and then she stepped out. She wasn't tall. She wasn't dressed in armor. She looked young, fragile. Her skin shimmered like starlight, her long hair floating slightly, as if caught in a soft wind. Glowing patterns flowed over her body, alive, changing like liquid light. Her eyes opened. They were deep silver, full of sadness and peace. Jace stared at her, stunned. She looked at him just for a moment. Tand whispered, "You heard me?" He nodded slowly. "Yes." Behind him, the guardian rose again, damaged, but moving. The girl turned her gaze toward it. Her silver eyes glowed softly, and the machine froze. No blast, no violence. Just one silent command, and the machine stopped breathing. Jack realized, in that moment, the truth. She didn't need force to fight. She was something far beyond that something. The galaxy had feared, because it never understood, and now she was awake. What lies inside? Ash stood barefoot on the sand, her silver eyes glowing softly in the morning light. Her long white hair moved gently, though there was no wind. The patterns on her skin shifted like starlight, glowing lines flowing with her every breath. Jace couldn't speak at first, not because he was afraid, but because she looked nothing like what he expected. Not a weapon, not a monster. She looked sad. The girl stepped down from the open crate. Each movement was careful, almost hesitant, like she had forgotten how to walk. The soft mist around her faded slowly, revealing more symbols glowing faintly on her arms, neck, and cheeks. Ancient. Language possibly alive. She stopped just a few steps from Jace. "You heard me," she whispered again. "You listened." He nodded. "Who are you?" She blinked, then looked up at the sky. "I don't know anymore," she said. "They erased my name, called me many things. Weapon, danger, curse." Jace's voice was quiet. "But you're alive. You're not a thing." Her eyes locked with his. They didn't believe that. Behind them, the black guardian still lay in the sand. Its eyes glowed weakly, but it did not move. "What did you do to it?" Jace asked. "Nothing," she replied. "I asked it to stop, and it did." "Yes." Jace stared at her. No force, no violence, just a voice. She turned and looked at it. The crate. It still hummed, low and steady. "This was my cell," she said, "but also my shield. It kept me alive, and kept others away." "Who put you in there?" Her voice trembled. "They were afraid. I was made by beings who wanted peace, but they gave me too much power. I saw too much, felt too deeply. When war came, I refused to kill, and for that, they chose silence over trust." She stepped forward, placing her hand on the side of the crate. The markings glowed beneath her fingers. "They locked me away, and when I screamed, they buried me deeper." Jace's throat tightened. "How long were you in there?" She didn't answer right away. Time stopped meaning anything. I counted days by heartbeats. But sometimes, I forgot if I was dreaming or real, and the voice I heard. "I sent it out," she said, "every few cycles, in case anyone was still kind." Jace clenched his jaw. He had come to this desert looking for salvage. Now he stood, face to face with a forgotten being whose only crime was choosing mercy. "What do I call you?" he asked. She turned to him slowly. After a pause, she said, "Call me Lyra. That was the name I gave myself when everything else was taken." "Lyra," he repeated softly. She nodded. Suddenly, Nova spoke in Jace's ear. "Jace, I'm detecting multiple ships entering atmosphere. 12 signatures. Weapons armed. Origin unknown." His stomach dropped. "They're coming for her," he said. Lyra's single quotes. His face changed. Not fear, but understanding. "They always come. They leave me in silence, until I wake." She turned toward the sky. A moment later, streaks of fire crossed above the ships, breaking through the clouds. They were sharp, black, and fast. Not human-made. Something older. Something built for one purpose: capture or elimination. Jace turned to Lyra. "We have to move. I can call the ship. We can leave. They won't let you," she said calmly. "I'm not leaving you here." Her voice was steady. "If you stay, you become part of this. They will mark you. They will hunt you too." "Then let them come," Jace growled. "I didn't come here to run." She looked at him again. This time, longer. "No one has ever said that to me," she said softly. Then her body glowed brighter, and the air around her shimmered like heat rising off metal. Her patterns pulsed faster. The sand at her feet began to lift gently into the air. "What are you doing?" Jace asked. "I'm remembering," she said. "They took my past, but not my power." A pulse of energy spread from her, reaching the fallen guardian. It twitched, then slowly stood up. Jace reached for his weapon, but Lyra raised a hand. "No," she said. "Watch." The guardian turned, and kneled. It didn't move to attack. It bowed its head. It remembers me, Lyra said. They built it to stop me, but I never harmed it, only asked for peace. Nova's voice returned. Enemy ships landing in less than 2 minutes. Jace, you must decide. Jace looked at Lyra. She didn't plead. She didn't beg. She simply waited, and that was what made him step beside her. I'm with you, he said. She closed her eyes, just for a second. Then it begins again. Above them, the sky burned with fire, but this time, she wasn't alone. The hunters' committee sky screamed. 12 dark ships pierced the clouds like blades, roaring down from orbit, flames trailing behind them. They didn't slow. They didn't ask questions. They were here for one reason, to take back what should never have awakened. Jace stood beside Lyra, heart pounding. His hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of the moment. Beside him, Lyra remained still, glowing, calm. Nova's voice crackled through his earpiece. Hostile units approaching fast. Each ship carries heavily armed squads. Jace, I suggest immediate retreat. Retreat where? He muttered. This desert has no cover. Exactly why you should call extraction now. He looked at Lyra. Her silver eyes stared up at the falling ships. There was no panic, no sign of retreat, just quiet strength. They will not speak, she said. They will only fire. Then what do? We show them that silence no longer works. The ships landed in a tight formation, dust, flying sand blasting outward like waves. The noise was deafening. Their hulls hissed and split open, revealing tall warriors clad in dark metallic armor. They had no faces, just smooth helmets with burning red eyes. Their weapons were unlike anything Jace had seen. Long, needle-thin rifles, pulsing with violet energy. One stepped forward, taller than the rest. His armor carried silver marks, ancient, symbols of command. He raised a hand. A voice, cold and booming, echoed through the wind. You will surrender the anomaly. Step away, human. Jace stepped forward instead. Her name is Lyra, he said, and she's not going anywhere. The soldiers moved instantly, raising weapons. Before they could fire, the sand beneath their feet exploded upward. A wall of wind and dust rose, blinding them. Glowing lines erupted from the ground like roots of light, twisting through the air. Lyra raised her hand, and the glowing symbols on her skin surged with power. The desert answered her. Jace shielded his face, as sand twisted like a storm, forming a dome around them. Inside the dome, it was calm. Outside, chaos. What are you doing? He asked. Calling the old code, she said. The code of the stars, of defense, not destruction. She stepped forward. The first wave of enemies charged through the storm, firing blindly. Their shots stopped mid-air, freezing like shards of glass. Lyra flicked her wrist. The energy around her pulsed outward. The shards shattered, and the soldiers collapsed, stunned but alive. You're not killing them, Jace whispered. No, she replied. I remember the pain of death. I won't cause it again. Another ship opened, releasing spider-like machines. They crawled fast, scanning for weakness. Jace pulled out his blaster and started shooting. These don't feel pain, he shouted. Lyra nodded once. She raised both arms. The glowing crate behind her cracked open again from inside. Beams of blue light shot into the air. The Guardian returned, but it was no longer broken. The cracks in its armor glowed with the same light as Lyra. It stood fully healed, and now it fought beside her. It roared a low metallic sound and charged at the machines, smashing through them like they were made of paper. Above them, one of the ships began to rise, aiming its main cannon at the ground. Nova screamed in Jace's ear. Incoming blast. Category 7. Move. But Lyra stood still. She whispered something soft, in a language even Nova couldn't translate. The cannon fired. A beam of white energy tore from the sky. Jace covered his head, expecting death, but Lyra raised her hand and caught it. The beam stopped mid-air, then broke apart like smoke. Even the soldiers paused. Even Jace stared, unable to believe it. "They made me strong," Lyra said quietly. "But they never understood that power doesn't mean destruction." The lead soldier stepped forward again. "You are dangerous," he said. "You control the stars, the storms, the silence. This is why we buried you." She looked at him. "And yet, I never raised a hand until you forced me." The soldier hesitated, then aimed his weapon. Before he could fire, Jace stepped between them. "You fired that shot, and you make the same mistake your ancestors did." "You protect her?" the soldier asked. "No," Jace said. "I stand with her." Lyra placed her hand on Jace's shoulder. Her glow spread into him soft, like a heartbeat. Suddenly, the weapons around the soldiers froze. Not jammed, not broken. They simply stopped responding. "What did you do?" Jace whispered. "I gave them a choice," she said. The soldiers looked around, confused. Their weapons no longer worked. Their ships no longer responded. Their machines lay silent in the sand. "I didn't destroy," Lyra said to them. "I gave you silence. Now choose what fills it." No one spoke. The lead soldier lowered his weapon. He turned without a word, and one by one the ships lifted off. No battle. No war, just understanding. Jace let out a long breath. It was over for now. He turned to her. "What happens next?" Lyra looked toward the horizon. "The galaxy will feel me again," she said. "Some will hate it, some will fear it. And you, I will walk," she said. "And this time, I won't walk alone." The voice that changed everything. The desert was quiet again. No ships in the sky, no weapons raised. Just silence. But this silence wasn't born from fear. It was different now. It was listening. J.I. stood beside Lyra on the edge of the dune, looking out at the place where everything had changed. The black tower had crumbled after the ships left. The crate now stood open, its glowing core fading, like it had fulfilled its purpose. Nova's voice came softly in his ear. "Jace, galactic relay channels are broadcasting. Multiple civilizations have detected the energy pulse from earlier." He sighed. "So, they know." "Yes. Your name is already trending on 2 outer core newsnets." The human who stood beside her. He chuckled weakly. "Great." He looked at Lyra. She was standing barefoot in the sand, eyes closed, her hair flowing like water in the warm breeze. Her glowing patterns had softened, less intense now. She seemed at peace. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded. "I feel light. Like I can finally breathe. You're free now." She turned to him. "Freedom is not silence. It's being heard." Jace smiled. "They heard you today." Lyra looked at the crate one last time. "This was my prison, and my shelter. It gave me time. It kept me alive. But now, it must rest." She stepped forward and placed her palm on the surface. The crate gave a final hum, gentle warm beat, for its lights dimmed completely. It sank slowly into the sand, swallowed by the desert. Gone. Jace took a deep breath. "What now?" Nova answered before she could. "Incoming transmissions. Multiple diplomatic messages. Several races are requesting to speak with her. Or you. Me." Jace blinked. "Why me?" "You are now a symbol," Nova said. "The first human to stand with a forgotten power, and survive." Lyra looked at Jace. "They will come with fear first. Then questions. Then choices. And how do you want to answer them?" She turned her gaze toward the sky. "With truth." Jace nodded. He had come here for a salvage mission. Now, he was part of something far bigger. The galaxy knew her name? Again Lyra, but it also knew his. He had chosen to believe, and that choice had changed everything. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shimmered. Lyra turned. Someone was approaching. A small group of travelers walked across the sand. Some had alien faces. Some wore robes. None held weapons. They came with open hands, quiet eyes, and cautious steps. Jace stepped forward. Do you know them? Lyra stared quietly. No, but they know me. The first of the travelers, a gray-skinned elder with bright white eyes, bowed deeply. We saw the light. We heard the voice. Lyra smiled softly. Did it scare you? The elder shook his head. No, it called us, and now we're here to listen. Others behind him nodded. One child stepped forward and offered Lyra a small metal flower, rusted, broken, but beautiful. She took it with care. Her eyes sparkled. Jace watched it all unfold. This wasn't a battlefield anymore. It was the beginning of a new story. He turned to Nova. Record everything. This moment needs to be remembered. Already recording, Nova said. The sun began to rise higher. Ships from nearby systems hovered above, but none dared land. They watched. They waited. And down on the ground, Lyra began to speak. Not loudly. Not with force, but with truth. She told them who she was, what she had seen, what had been done to her, and how J saw a human who had no reason to stay, chose to stand beside her. I am not a god, she said. I am not a weapon. I am not your fear. I am the voice you chose to bury, because it asked for peace, louder than war. They listened. The galaxy listened, and for the first time in thousands of years, it believed her. 1 month later, crate was never found again. But the legend spread fast. They called her the Silent Flame. They called Jace the first listener. Together they became more than a moment. They became a message.